Well, folks, we had a really successful Rivermen Day not too long ago, and so we decided, since you guys love the alumni interviews so much, let's keep them going. And this time, we're having another very special guest. He's from the IHL days, a two-time Turner Cup champion with the team, former winger, and now councilman of the 5th District of Peoria, Denis Cyr. Mr. Cyr, councilman, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be with you.
I know just from talking to Bart Rogers, our owner with the Peoria Rivermen, you guys go back a long way too. And he mentioned just how great it would be to have a guest like you on, because again, your ties to Peoria now, I mean, they're going back decades, to the point where you were a young guy just a couple years into your pro career back in 1985. When we talk about Peoria, and I'm sure you have a lot of things to talk about with the city of Peoria now that you're so embedded into it, but what about the Rivermen? Because I think your first experience with Central Illinois comes from that paddle wheel.
Yes, it does. I mean, and to be honest with you, like any professional hockey player, my first month in Peoria was not a pleasant one. I mean, I was obviously not very happy because I just got sent down from the St. Louis Blues training camp. And being in Peoria, which I've never heard of before, obviously being from Montreal, Canada originally. So when Mr. Caron was the GM at the time for the St. Louis Blues, called me in the office and told me I was going to start the season in Peoria. Obviously, I was not very happy, but it turned out to be the best thing that probably ever happened to me in my life.
We had talked to a couple of these guests, as I allude to, on Rivermen Day, very similar to what you said, like talking with Dan Hodge, for example, and he kind of felt the same way coming down from the American League to the ECHL. You were a first round draft pick. You went pretty early by the Calgary Flames. Talk about that. As you said, initially the first month, to be pragmatic, you weren't too thrilled. As a player, balancing the ebbs and flows of going up to the NHL, taking a step down to the IHL at that time, how is that balance? I imagine it's more of a mental toll than a physical one.
It definitely is a lot more mental than physical. I mean, everybody works really hard to be in top shape all the time, but mentally it's where it becomes really difficult. I was just a few months ago, a journalist from Calgary called me because I was the first pick ever for the Calgary Flames. At 1980, that's when the Atlanta Flame moved to Calgary, and I was the first pick, 13th overall, first round. And it put additional pressure on you when you're first round pick. Calgary was great, but did not work out for me. But we were talking about all kinds of stuff, being their 40th anniversary over there, having hockey in Calgary. So that was I had a great time talking with the journalist. And then you go for my career. I was up and down a few times, different organization, and it makes it hard because for me anyway, and I should say just for me, everybody likes to play 1,000 games in the NHL and be a Hall of Famer. I think it's everybody's goal to have a great career, but it just doesn't work that way for everybody. And great things has happened to me during my career and after my career. So, I mean, I'm not bitter about anything. I mean, I think it was great for me to be a National Hockey Leaguer. And coming to Peoria at first, like I said, was disappointed, but ended up being a great thing for me coming to Peoria and finishing my career right here.
You played a little under 200 games in the NHL, and you played almost 200 games actually with the Rivermen over your 3 seasons. Denis, as you mentioned there, you said that, obviously things turned out well, but that first month in Peoria did not. When did you mentally, I guess, wrap your head around the idea that, hey, I'm here now and my job is to win? Because that year that you were here, your very first season, the team won its first championship with a Turner Cup in '85.
Well, my goal was always to play in the NHL. So when I first got here, it's like being a boxer. You get knocked down once in a while, but you have to get up. So I was down for probably the first month. Then I got up, and we had a great year. And actually, my year here in Peoria and playing well and winning the IHL Turner Cup was actually a good thing for my career. It's actually a good thing for some other guys that were on that team. I can think like a Lee Norwood example that revived his career. He went on to play in NHL for a few more years. I went on to play in NHL for 2 more years, signed a 2-year contract with St. Louis. So it started as a negative, but then you have to get up and play well and win, and that's what we did as a team. I got back to normal and started playing very well, and we had some good players and a good team, and we end up having a great season, and obviously winning the IHL Turner Cup was a highlight.
Talk about that team in '85. Who are some of the names that first come to your mind?
Well, you have to go with Bob the Hammer Fleming, and we had a young guy like Dougie Evans was his rookie year, and ended up I had a great career. John Goodwin was my centerman, and Dave McQueen was the right winger. You got guys that stayed in town like Brad Campthorne, Daryl May was on the team. Rick Hendricks was our captain. Lee Norwood was there. Tony Curtali was there. I mean, we had a good team, guys that had a fair amount of experience, and it was a good team.
So, and obviously a good team, and a couple of years later they would, win a championship again with you in the general manager seat, which we'll get to for a couple of reasons. But staying in that first year, as you get acclimated, I mean, when you were thinking of the city of Peoria as you're there, we're doing this interview in 2021. What was life like there in the 1980s?
Well, I think as an athlete, you don't know a lot of people, so really your life is around the guys that are in the locker room with you. So you hang around the locker room, you hang around the same bars, the same restaurants, the same Landmark. That's where I met my wife, was at the Landmark working out. Your family is really the team. So you hang with your teammates most of the time. You don't get to see a lot of the city. You get to see some of the city, but you meet some of the fans. But really, your family is whoever's in the locker room, and that's who you build a relationship with and hang around with for the year. So it's more about the team, really, than getting to know the city of Peoria.
It's interesting when you look back. I think that championship, the first in the team's franchise history, as we now approach 40 years of pro hockey in Peoria, they're all important, right? But I feel like this one may have been a little more important. We were talking with, I believe, Dave Tomlinson on Rivermen Day, and he had mentioned that, from what he was hearing in the 80s, the Prancers had shifted to become the Rivermen. There were still issues at the time with ownership until Mr. Sauer stepped in and was able to take over and kind of right the ship. But I just feel like that championship had to be so important in revitalizing the organization and the excitement around Rivermen hockey and pro hockey in Peoria. So as we talked about that first year, what do you remember from the end? What do you remember about getting over the hump, winning, and raising that trophy on the ice?
Well, the stories that stick with you really a lot of is goals, fights, and highlights that you talk about and what brings teams together. Obviously, in 1985, I believe was like the last game was like May 24th or something like that. And we were in Game 7 against Muskegon, and with about a couple minutes to go, there's a big brawl on the ice. On both benches empty, and there was fights everywhere, and we're winning the game 4-1. And it's to me, I remember facing Greg Tebbett, which was a huge guy, big defenseman. And people, when you fight on the ice, I'll say, "Do you want to go?" And Greg said to me, "Dennis, do you want to go?" And I look at the clock, and I look at him, and I said, "Listen, I'm going to be on vacation in 2 minutes." I said, "I would prefer not to." And that guy was a huge guy. I was happy he agreed with me, and he just let me go.
That's awesome. Dennis, it's funny as we look back, and you guys obviously, again, winning one of 2 Turner Cups, one of 3 championships to the city so far. The next one for you would come in life after playing hockey. Tell me about how that even began. We'll get into the Turner Cup that you guys won in 91, but what happened in the transition from retiring? I think it was 1987 you retired, I want to say. And then shortly after that, you get a call, I assume, from Mr. Sowers to be the GM.
Well, actually, I mean, try to make a long story short, and when I retired, before I retired, my last playing year for the Rivermen, I actually went to ICC, went back to college, and got myself a real estate license, not knowing I would ever use it, to be honest with you. And the following year, decided to retire and start going on interviews, and then got a job with Traders Realty here in Peoria with the Wilkins family, which were really good to me. And really, my wife at the time was in sales with Channel 25, and really that's how I met Bruce Sowers, through some dealing. We were looking at different things. He was looking at some real estate properties. So I met Bruce through my wife, and also through some dealing in real estate. And then when he was approached to buy the Rivermen, because now the taxpayer owned the Rivermen from 1984 to 89 when Bruce bought the team. Uh, then Bruce and I got together, and he made me the best offer of my life. He said, Dennis, you come with me and you teach me about hockey, and I'll teach you about business. And that's exactly what happened. He became my mentor. And I told this family all the time, I'll never be able to repay him and his family everything I've learned from Bruce. But he was a great man. He taught me a lot about business. And obviously, I was able to teach him a lot about hockey. And so it was a great friendship. We became best friends, and I miss him a lot. He was a good man. And really, it was a lot of fun to be around.
Unfortunately, I never had the chance to meet Mr. Sowers, but his legacy lives on through all the people that have met him. Our current coach, Jean-Guy Trudel, talks about how every game, win or lose, he would come down and he would shake everybody's hand in the dressing room. That was just the kind of guy he was. And he said that, Coach said, you just didn't see that with every owner across teams. You talk about how special of a person he was. What do you think Bruce Sowers really means to the Rivermen? Because I think his legacy and impact is still felt today.
Well, like you said earlier, I think Bruce saved hockey in Peoria. I mean, Bruce was a great guy. He was a gentleman. He just fell in love with hockey. I think some of us remember the old commercial about I think it was the shaving razors, where the guy said, I loved it so much I bought the company. Bruce came to a playoff game the year before he bought the team and just fell in love with the game. And after meeting the players, he just fell in love with hockey players. I mean, our work ethics and how tough we are physically and mentally. He just loved that, and he had a tremendous amount of respect for the players. And like I say, it was a guy that Bruce was a golfer. He played golf all his life. His family still played golf. But then after after that first playoff game the following year, when he became an owner, he just fell in love with everything, with the game, with the players, and everything.
You mentioned that you got into real estate and you had got your license to make sure that you could pursue that as you were being set to retire. Are you still in real estate now?
No, that was just 1 year. I've been a financial advisor. I own my own firm. I've been a financial advisor for 25 years right now, and I've been independent for the last 12.
And balancing that along with being a councilman, I don't know how much free time you have. I'm amazed that we were even able to do this interview.
Well, Zoom helps a lot. Technology helps a lot when you try to be efficient with your time. But now I have to be really thankful to my wife, Jeannie. I mean, after 33 years of marriage, she allows me to do these types of things. And busy people are always busy. And between raising a couple girls, I got two daughters, one 20 and one 16, and being married for 33 years, and businesses and investment that I have. 4 years ago, I got involved in politics, and I'm a busy person like everybody else, but I really enjoy what I'm doing.
We will talk a little bit about your politics here in a few minutes, but Dennis, I guess maybe your wife is responsible for this, how a kid from Montreal ends up deciding he wants to spend the rest of his life in the Midwest of the U.S. Is that what it's accounted to?
Yes. I mean, my wife being from Metamora, I'm not sure when we were dating, I'm not sure like I said earlier, I'm not sure what we were going to do. I think you go where life takes you and where you can get a decent job. And I think we stayed the time when I retired. Like I said, I went to real estate business, being brand new. It was very difficult at first, but my wife had a good job here. She worked at the time for WEK Channel 25. She had a good job, and that was paying the bills, and we decided to stay here. And then 1 year turned into 5, and 5 into 20, and all of a sudden I've been here for 35 years. So, but Peoria is just a great city. The city has made many friends over the years. Like I said, I met so many people at first, especially with when Bruce Sauer was alive. I mean, introduced me to a lot of people, to a lot of business people, and he fell in love with hockey. I fell in love with the city of Peoria. It's just a great place, great people, and it's a great place to raise a family. So. No, I mean, I'm very thankful that really it was. I don't know if it was my plan. It was more like God's plan, I think. But no, you go all the way from Montreal, Canada, to meet your wife in Metamora, Illinois. When I was a kid, I probably didn't even know where Illinois was. So I think it was all in God's plan, and I'm very thankful for that.
It sounds like it was really the perfect marriage between you and the city of Peoria.
Well, you have to define perfect, but no, I mean, it's definitely a good marriage, that's for sure.
When you think about, as you mentioned, the good people in Peoria, how great of a city it is, I truly believe that every city that has professional sports, that is one of its proudest things. That is something that people hang their hat on. And the Rivermen, and more so the city of Peoria, are coming up on 2022 will mark 40 years since the Prancers first introduced professional hockey to this city. It's amazing. And over that time, David Minion, a guy you obviously know very well, Cleve, he's talked, and one of the guests we had on Rivermen Day was Dave Tomlinson, a player who was playing under your regime as general manager. And, Cleve looks back at that 90-91 team, 18 straight wins. It was the longest winning streak in hockey history for over 20 years. And you look at the MTV line there. I mean, so many aspects of it that maybe that was the best team in Rivermen history. No one officially knows. I guess you can never really know for sure. But tell me then, because, again, you were GM for a few years, Dennis, and, the Rivermen prior to that season were not playing their best hockey. They had back-to-back seasons of losing over 50 games. How did it all of a sudden come about? It almost feels like, I'd asked Dave Tomlinson this, it almost feels like it was this lightning in a bottle where the team had struggled, and then thrived, best team in hockey, pro hockey, and then they win a Turner Cup.
Well, first of all, you have to look at the quality of the players we had and the character of the players. Dave Tomlinson was our captain, and he was probably one of the most respected captain around the league. He was a tremendous player and a great character, and obviously a great leader. And Dave, I remember when I was talking to him, a lot of these guys in the 89-90 season really got hurt. Their pride really got hurt. We didn't have a good season, and everybody was mad about that. And everybody remembered that when you're on the losing team, you and hockey players have a lot of pride. People prides got hurt that and they couldn't wait to come back the following year and prove that they were good players and deserved to be on the championship team. Now, for us, as far as management, the first year Bruce and I were together, 89, and you have to build a relationship, with the St. Louis Blues at the time. That management knew me because I was a player, but they did not know Bruce. So we had to build a relationship with them, and we didn't have any players, control of any players the first year. The second year in the contract, we asked if we could control 5 or 6 players, guys that would stay with us, that we would put under contract, guys like Mike Mongeau, who was in my opinion, one of the top player ever played in Peoria. And with some other players. Emerson was an incredible player also, but we had a lot of great players, and but we had to build first a relationship with the coaches from the Blues and with the management for the Blues, and then got together in the second year by signing a few of our own guys. We're able to help out, so we can so all the player movement, which is very difficult when you're affiliated with NHL team. You can, some of the guys, some of your core player can settle down and help make sure we have, keep everything even in the locker room. And I think that's what happened the second year. And of course, the fact that the St. Louis did such a great job recruiting some of these guys, we had some very, very good players, obviously. And I don't think we had any weakness, and winning 18 games in a row after losing the first game. put an incredible momentum behind us, and that carried us all the way to the end to carry the IHL Tournament Cup.
Dave said that the win streak, as cool as it wasn't going to mean anything if the team didn't win the championship that year, because ultimately that's what matters. It's kind of how you finish. But during that win streak, at what point did you as a general manager think, holy cow, like we're getting close, like we're starting to make history here?
Well, when you get to 15, 16, 17, you just don't think you're going to lose anymore. And all of a sudden you got media like Hockey Night in Canada starting to talk about you and all that, and going to Kalamazoo to win game 16, I believe it was. And then we won a few more after that. It was an incredible journey, and I'm sure in the locker room these players have something to share for forever. And it's a lifetime experience, and everybody's still talking about that today. Look at us today in 2021, we're still talking about that. So people, I think, in any type of sport, people fall in love with champion. Now, we were champion in 1980-45. That team we were champion in 1991. And people love those stories, you know. I mean, it's the American way, you know. We love champions. So that was an amazing team, coached by some amazing people and amazing players, and our fans were great. I mean, no, my last game in Peoria when we won the Turner Cup was a sellout. I think it was like 9,300 people, and the year I was GM that year from 18 win. I mean, I think we set, I don't remember, I mean, we need to talk to our friend David Minion, but I'm sure we set all kinds of record for attendance that year. But most of Fridays and Saturdays that year, we had 9,000 fans in the stand at Carver Arena. So it was just a great season.
What is the difference in feeling between winning a Turner Cup as a player versus winning it as a GM?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, nobody ever asked me that question. I mean, I think I prefer being on the ice and be part of the action and make a contribution. I mean, you have more control, obviously, when you're on the ice. Every shift is very important. Whereas a GM, I mean, you could put the piece of the puzzle together, but you watch him from the stand, and you don't. I mean, you don't have a lot of control of what's going on during the game. It's all about the players and the coaches. But no, I mean, when you win, you win. Being part of a winner, it's just a great experience. And I have great memories from both championship teams.
One of the memories that I know Cleve was saying, and I'm curious if you can recall any of this, what say you maybe had is Wayne Thomas is somebody who plays a part in that IHL Turner Cup championship, kind of accidentally, apparently, because St. Louis got together and said, well, somebody's got to coach that team. And I guess Wayne Thomas was looking down, the story goes, he's looking down in this meeting room, and when he looks up, everybody's looking at him. So did you know anything about this? Were you in that room and getting Wayne Thomas to Peoria?
No, I knew Wayne from before, but no, I didn't know that story. Wayne was a quiet guy, and he was a good guy. He was a great guy, actually. And he went on to coach and be into management in the NHL. So I haven't talked to Wayne in a while, but no, I did not know that story. It's probably similar to Bob Plager, I guess, being the coach of the 1991 team. I'm not sure Bob ever wanted to be a coach, and I'm not sure how he got the job, to be honest with you. But no, he did an unbelievable job right here in Peoria. And the next year he was coaching the St. Louis Blues. So I'm not sure how that happened, how Bob got here, but I didn't know that story about Wayne.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you look at even right now, like Jean-Guy Trudel, he didn't reach out to Bart. Bart reached out to him. I mean, Guy didn't really put in an application. And next thing you know, he's the winningest coach in Peoria Rivermen history. So it's amazing how those things work. Denis, how is it too now, obviously going back, you were a GM for, I believe, right around 6 years with the team. You leave in the mid-90s, but you stay in Peoria. So you've seen this team evolve and kind of dissolve with certain moments, obviously when the AHL left and, we didn't know what was going to happen immediately. From the outside looking in, you see the ECHL Rivermen, the AHL Rivermen, the SPHL Rivermen. What has it been like to see this franchise kind of manifest into its own thing over the years?
Well, I've been part of the beginning, and I can tell you that, AAA hockey, obviously, if you're going to have a minor league team, AAA hockey is the best league to be in, which would be the American League or the old IHL at the time. But it's very, very costly. And Bruce Sowers made a lot of financial sacrifices to keep the team here because, I mean, it's very expensive, and especially if you're not affiliated with anybody. So at the end there, when I left, St. Louis decided they didn't want to be in the IHL anymore. They wanted to go back to the American League. And it was just impossible. And that's when I got out. Bruce said, well, we'll finish the year, and then we'll go into maybe the East Coast Hockey League. And really, that was all due to financial pressure. And I decided for me it was time to get out and move on with my life. So it worked out for everybody. But I was sad to lose the IHL. I was sad to lose the American League because what fans are looking for, they build, especially in the minor league, they build a relationship with the players. They love to watch them build a relationship with them and watch them move on maybe to the next league, the higher league. And so when you lose that, our guys used to go from here to the next night. They could watch a game here in Peoria on a Friday night, and a Saturday night they'd be watching a Blues game with somebody that was played for us on Friday night. And I think fans really like that. So when we went to the ECA East Coast League, it was just different. I mean, you still want to see your team succeed and your players succeed and have them go to the next level. But that's just, it was different, and I was not involved in the East Coast League and I talked to Bart all the time and tried to help out now with John Gee, but no, I'm not involved anymore, but I still love hockey. I think the Civic Center is still one of the best building ever that I played in. It's a great building for hockey. It's a great building for minor league. I hope they update. No, I mean, obviously they need some updates over there, but money it's hard to get by. But these guys are. To me, it's still the same game. It's still hockey. These guys are still paying a big price to play hockey. They have to be in shape. They have to be tough physically and mentally. And most of them are trying to get up to the next level. So I personally still take great pleasure and really enjoy watching the Rivermen.
Guys like you that stayed around in the area, I feel like there's an extra sense of pride for what you put into that team when you were there. So as I mentioned, we've seen the team evolve and dissolve. I think the scariest moment for every Rivermen fan goes probably back to 2013 when the Blues were pulling out and the AHL was not going to be here. And for a moment in time, everybody, there's a video online, thank you for 31 years of hockey, because in the moment, Dennis, I think nobody knew the SPHL was coming, and people thought that the Rivermen were done and Peoria was going to be without a pro hockey team for the first time in over 3 decades. I mean, do you remember anything about that? Again, you were not involved with the team at that time, and Bruce Sowers would go on to save the Rivermen for a second time, I guess, along with Bart Rogers and company. But what do you remember just being a proud member of that city, a proud member of that team, thinking that, this arena is not going to have a sheet of ice in it next season?
Yeah. Well, obviously Peoria is my home. This is probably where I'm going to die. I do have a lot of pride in where I come from and my hockey background. And I know when you talk to, the time now that it would be the late Norm Ulrich. I mean, Norm did a few videos and he's been around the Rivermen for a long time, and Bart's been around for a long, long time also. You look at the old days and the price you paid. And to me now in my position, especially as a councilman, it has to do with the quality of life. You come to Peoria. Peoria is a small town with big town attraction. You come here, we have hockey, we have baseball, we have basketball. We have so many great things right here in Peoria, and to me, it has to do with the quality of life, and that's why we have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 fans that come to most of the games, and it's important. I mean, it's important for a business downtown. Sometimes there's a game, a Rivermen game or Bradley game or a baseball game, attract people to come downtown and spend money downtown, spend time downtown. And it's good for everybody. Everybody wants a vibrant downtown. And I think having hockey in downtown Peoria especially at the Civic Center. It's such a beautiful building.
Yeah.
I think it's important. It's very important to me for not because I'm a hockey guy, but because I think it's very important to the quality of life in Peoria.
Well, you mentioned the Peoria Civic Center as a whole, and let's take you out of the hockey guy hat. I mean,
Yep.
I think you're right. A lot of people don't even realize it, right? Because when you're the Civic Center and you've got, how about events coming in, bands coming in, concerts, stand-up comedians, Disney on Ice, things like that is going to bring business to downtown for people that want to go out to restaurants, for people that are coming maybe from out of state or want to stay a night at a hotel. I mean, all those things matter, right? To determine the importance of those buildings and sports and entertainment in the city.
Well, it's always come down to money. In good times, nobody talks about downtown or the Civic Center or anything else. But in bad times, it's people start looking at how expensive and what needs to be done. And really try to imagine a downtown Peoria without the Civic Center. I mean, I think, we could have a ghost town, I mean, we so many things that has happened around the Civic Center the last 40 years. I mean, that building started with 1980. So, 41 years now. So it's a very important building for our downtown. It's an integral part of our business plan to build and have an active, non-vibrant downtown. So we got to do everything we can to keep the Civic Center doors open, number one, and number two, make sure that people support the Rivermen and support Bradley and support the chief. And we got to support. I mean, like you said, there's so many concerts and there's a beautiful theater in there. Now we got to support our downtown and so we can have this quality of life, that we all have lived with really since I've been in Peoria. So I don't want to see any of these things go because, like I said, Peoria is my home. I'm not going anywhere. So we got to keep that going for the quality of life of people in Peoria.
I think as we get toward the end of this conversation, we will shift into these kind of topics and politically involved and relevant topics. But I guess the best way to start that, although we kind of already did, is your involvement in it. You're a councilman for the 5th District of Peoria. How did you get into politics in the first place, and what made you want to do this?
Well, I'm always, like a lot of people, I've served on many boards for a lot of years, and I like to, like I said, Peoria's been really good to me, and I'd just like to give back to my community. I believe in that. And so I got involved in a lot of different non-for-profit, and eventually it came down. I got a call one day and said, "Hey, why don't you get involved in politics and run for the 5th District?" Talked to my wife, and I said, it's a little bit higher position that I want to start with. I was looking more to serve on commissions at first. But after talking to my wife, I said, let's do it. I'm in the right age, the right time in my life. And so I decided to get involved, ran a campaign, and won for my first term. And, it's a 4-year term. And like I say, the 5th District is mainly northwest of Peoria. And it's been great. It's a big commitment. I mean, nothing prepares you to be a public servant. It's like you can serve on a lot of boards, but when public servant is something totally different than everything else I've done before. So, there's a learning curve there. But the one thing you don't have to learn is if you care about people, which is really the main reason I got involved, just to be a public servant. So to be a public servant, there's not a lot to learn. And all you have to do is when people reach out to you, either through a phone call, a text, or email, you just have to get back to them and try to help them with their concern. That's really what I enjoyed the most about this responsibility is the interaction with people and try to help people. That's where I get a high from.
I think as you're saying this, obviously you're excited about it, but you mentioned it. I'm sure it's not exactly an easy job. There is a workload to it that makes it difficult. And you mentioned the learning curve. Like, one example, I mean, in the years that you've been serving now to this point, what's maybe the biggest takeaway or the biggest part of the learning curve, the biggest thing that you learned during this time?
Well, I mean, when I sit down in the chair, I tell people when I look at my desk, there's only 2 buttons when it's time to take a vote. There's a yes button and a no button. And really, there's no perfect button. There's a maybe can I think some more about it button. I mean, you have to make a lot of tough decisions all the time. And being a politician, what I was not ready for at the time is doesn't matter when you start. Doesn't matter if you're a good guy or not. I mean, you're always going to have people that just not going to like you. Now, depending if you're R or D. Now, if you're Republican or Democrat or Independent, people will have an opinion of you right away, and some people will like you right away, and some people will just hate you because the letter you have after your name. And that's kind of sad. It makes me sad because nothing prepares you for that. I mean, how many people want to have a bunch of people hate them? It just doesn't work that way. It's just not a natural emotion. So that's always difficult. I mean, everybody as a hockey player, you give 100% on the ice, and usually the home team, your fans love you, but then you go on the road and you still get 100%, and then you got 100% of those fans that hate you. So you know about love and hate. But as a politician, it's very difficult because you have to make some very important decision all the time. And then to me, the important part is be able to explain. I told people, I've made the hard decision in my position, but as long as I can explain to my wife and my kids my train of thoughts and why I made those decisions, to me, that's the first step.
Yeah, I think that's right. And at least it sounds like you were somewhat prepared for people to hate you because the Rivermen would get booed out of buildings when they were the visiting team. So, so you get that as a little bit of a.
Yeah, but in those years we didn't have social media. I think social media is a big killer today. I mean, I think I'm not a big fan of social media.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, social media is one of those things. It can be great and it can be just as bad, if not worse. And one of the things, Dennis, is you kind of perfectly segue into it is, social media makes it impossible to miss what's going on in the world right now. Obviously, we're talking in March of 2021. It's been a year since I've last called a game. It's been a year plus since the Rivermen last played a game, and that's all accounted for due to COVID-19. What has it been like to be, a councilman in the first pandemic in a century? And I imagine you're concerned about Peoria. You talk about the things that they were there when you were there. There's got to be even more pressure to keep that stuff alive. You got a lot of small businesses down there. So what has it been like kind of juggling the last 12 months? Because I imagine, we're hopeful. We're seeing vaccines. We think we're on the trajectory to go upward now, but I'm sure we're not just out of the woods just yet. There's probably still at least a couple months left in this until maybe masks come off. So, what has that been like dealing with COVID?
Well, for me, as I just said earlier, I got involved because I want to help people. So you have to empathize and sympathize with people. And now we have, the people that are being hurt the most, probably, you got a lot of people on fixed income. We have a lot of people that are low income, and they need some help. When we hit the COVID-19 hit last March, we had a balanced budget, excuse me, for 2 years. And with COVID hitting, all of a sudden we wake up one day and we're short. We have this humongous financial hole of $54 million that we had to try to plug in. So that was very, very difficult, very stressful because you have to cut all kinds of programs and public services because the money is just not there. And that is extremely, extremely difficult. And trying to explain that to people and a lot of people, like I said, low income people or fixed income are hurting. You get all these taxes that we have now. The argument all the time is about a tax is a tax, a fee is a tax. So we in Peoria, we have a lot of taxes, we have a lot of fees, and people are hurting. And so you have to be aware of that and try to balance and find a mix there. What's very important, what we cannot live without, and what we can maybe put on the back burner for a little bit until the revenues do come back. And that's very difficult because you can talk to 11 people around the horseshoe and you can have 11 different opinions. So that's where it becomes really, really difficult because people, and that's a plus. If everybody was thinking the same way, then we only would need one person around the horseshoe. So it's good to have discussion and people that are thinking different ways so we can have some good discussions and hopefully make some good decision. But it was, like I said, going from having a good budget for 2 years to having a $54 million financial hole was just an incredible experience. And now we're slowly getting out of it, and hopefully we'll get back to more whatever normal means. I don't know what the new normal is going to be after we're done with COVID-19, but I'm looking forward to a more normal time where revenues are coming in at a better pace.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what the new normal officially will be. I don't know if after this is done, we'll continue to wear masks or what exactly of this, if social distancing will remain a thing. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, right? But if you were to project or look, at least from the aspect of Peoria, Illinois, do you have an idea? Do you have a thought, or do you have a projection as to, hey, I'd like to be at this point, like, for example, capacity restrictions for small businesses who have to close every other table to allow people to dine in. Do you hope that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that maybe by the start of 2022, maybe before 2022, that kind of stuff will be lifted, or is that just wishful thinking and we just really don't know right now?
Well, I think number one, we need to reopen the city of Peoria. We need to reopen the state of Illinois, and we need to reopen the country. Now, even when that happened, okay, people are still going to be scared a little bit, I think. I mean, the first thing we need to do is we need to get people, we need to herd vaccination. We need everybody to get vaccinated, and especially the people that are more at risk. And then when that happened, I'm not sure if people will be ready to go out right away, but I think the vaccine is the key right now. I mean, we need to make sure the distribution goes good and smoothly, and whoever wants to get vaccinated will get vaccinated, so they feel better about going out in public. But I think it's going to be still a lot of people. We need to see the number. I mean, even after you're vaccinated, I'm sure a lot of people will probably keep wearing masks, and I mean, it's going to take a while because people have a lot of fear right now, and I think it's a lot of fear of the unknown. There's just a lot of unknown, but I think after everybody gets vaccinated, if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask, but eventually, no, I'm not sure. I mean, when it's going to come back to normal, it might be by the end of this year, might be by next June. I really don't know when it's going to be, but all I know for sure is everybody who wants to get vaccinated needs to be vaccinated so the fear can dissipate a little bit. And when the fear goes away, then more people will come out all the time, and we can reopen all our businesses like it was before pre-COVID.
Well, I think over the course of this conversation, whether we're talking Rivermen or politics or obviously the virus, it's so evident your care for this city and your desire to help people. You're up for re-election this year. So as we kind of come to a close here, Dennis, what are ways, for the casual Rivermen fan that maybe wants to take part in this? I mean, what can people do to find you on social media to make sure that they're ready to vote when the time comes?
Well, the election, the general election is going to be April 6th, Tuesday, April 6th. For me, you have to live in the 5th district to be able to vote for me. So if you live in the 5th district, which is north end of town, northwest end of town, if you like what I've done the last 4 years, and if you like hockey players, please vote for me on April 6th. But besides that, I mean, I got a lot of stuff going on out there, and hockey fans, if you like what I've done, if you followed what I've done, you can share a lot. And you can go on my Facebook and share a lot of my posts, basically, and help me get the word out. And I'm seeking. I am the incumbent, and I'm just seeking a second term. I think I've done a good job the first term, and that first term, I just want to finish what I started the last 4 years. And like I said, if you live in the 5th district, please vote for me.
Yeah, well, you've definitely got a supporter on the ice for the Rivermen, and we certainly hope to be back later on this year, and we certainly hope to have you there. Maybe come out for a Rivermen game. Be great to have you.
I definitely will be there.
All right. Well, hey, Dennis, this has been so much fun going down memory lane and talking about from 1985 to now. Hopefully we covered everything. I'm sure we missed a ton, but we just wouldn't have enough time. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Again, fans, don't forget April 6th is the election. Be sure to look out for Denis Cyr for the 5th District of Peoria on social media. Dennis, again, thank you so much for your time.
Andrew, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.